thank
Yeah,
you for
yeah.
having me on. This is a cool, I've caught a few of your sessions. It's a cool thing that you're doing here to bring people together and
Well, thank you.
chat Pilates, especially
Hmm.
as two males in the industry. I'm sure you feel like when I was going through my certification, I was looking around, not many of us. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. Where did you do your cert originally?
So I started Pilates at Equinox. I kind of fell backwards into Pilates. My journey started with a bunch of injuries from I played baseball all my life and I was a big runner in high school. I competitively ran the mile, cross
Okay.
country. So I was running, but my form, as I look back, my form was a problem and it
Yeah.
caused a lot of tightness, stiffness in my back.
Yeah.
So that was something that caused me to stop competing really. And
Yeah. Yeah.
then I moved to the city after high school, and then I moved back. I got a job at Equinox while I was finishing my college degree. I got a master's degree in communication arts in
Cool.
2013. So I have a photo business that was like my main gig.
I
And
see that.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so for a long time that was my main gig, and then I started to see the benefits of Pilates. I was introduced gradually through it to Equinox by being at Equinox. I worked in the cafe. I wasn't like a personal trainer or anything. I was
Okay.
just trying to, push my photo business to the people
Mhm.
while giving them like protein shakes, and I got to work out. It was a good gig.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the best thing that happened to me was that I started doing Pilates there, and I
Yeah.
started working with the apprentices who were getting certified through Equinox, and that's what really opened my eyes to the Pilates. I was really lucky. I was working with a trainer. Her name is Jessica Markison, and
Mhm.
now she's a great trainer as well. But while she was getting certified, I had the benefit of being her guinea pig, and
Yeah.
that
Your
kind
body.
of once I started to really commit to the Pilates practice, I saw that I was really getting the benefit in my softball. I started a softball league, and so my softball game just tremendously improved. I was like, oh my God, I wish I did this so much sooner. So I
Right.
really stuck with it. Jessica moved on. I found another apprentice to work with. So I'm just basically taking clients. I do probably
Mhm.
5 clients a day on average, and that's Monday through
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just trying to keep people
Wow.
moving and keep myself moving as well. It's a great
No, like
exchange.
as we discover Pilates, like there's always that moment where like, man, I wish I had this like 10 years ago. Like when I would have been killing it in my
I
sport.
know. Especially I see Mike Trout getting 10-year, $430 million contract, and I'm just like, man, could have maybe probably wouldn't have been me, let's be real.
Right.
But
Right.
but
But
I,
it's good to
it
dream.
definitely makes you just pine for those days again.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. And I always like to ask this too, like what, you talk about your photography business. What other niches, like what other like things do you do outside of Pilates?
All right, so I'm into mostly it's a lot of baseball. I'm a
Yep.
baseball guy, man. I watch a lot of baseball. I do fantasy baseball. I run on my own softball team, which is not happening this year. So I actually just joined a wiffle ball team.
Okay.
So there we're playing wiffle ball. My first game's tonight, so
All right.
we'll see what that's like. So that's a big recreation for me, and I just
Yep.
like to just stretch and do Pilates. I watch movies. I have a master's degree in communication arts, I said so,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I never did anything with that degree. I kind of moved on from that, and it's helped me in the technological sense, how I'm now
Yep. I was
able
gonna ask
to
that.
like
Yeah.
help clients do virtual sessions, and they love it, and it's helped me grow as an instructor because I was a big poker. I would be like,
Yes.
right here, turn that spot on. And now it's like, okay, I kind of have to trick people into
Hmm.
moving in a way that they aren't used to, and then tell
Right.
them like lock into that feeling. And that's kind of
Yes.
it's very fulfilling to see someone's movement change and become better. I'm sure you've had clients that when you see them, you're like, okay, we got a lot of work to do. And then now they
Yes.
stick
Yes.
with it, and their improvement is just, it makes you proud. It makes you proud of them. It makes you proud of yourself. And
Absolutely.
it's an upward spiral. Everyone's happy.
Ye- Yes, no doubt. So were you working at Equinox or were you working at other studios too, or
No other
pre-quarantine?
studios. I have my own private clients that I would go see in home, but mostly it's all been
Okay.
through Equinox. Equinox is the venue that I discovered Pilates in, And they
Hmm.
really, since I had worked there at the cafe, I had friends there. So I really got a great opportunity. I'm thankful to Shannon Kuzma is the Northeast director of Equinox. And so she's just a great person in general. And I have my manager, Melissa, and they're just very supportive and helpful
Yeah, yeah.
and encouraging. So it's a great
Awesome.
environment for me to grow in.
Right.
So
Yeah. And well, I saw too from some of your posts that you've taken classes from other people. Like we both found each other in Chris's class that one day. Like, there's another guy here, right? And
yeah,
so
yeah. I noticed that. I was like, oh, I'm like keeping all the people in the class kind of like, oh, let me follow some of these people on Instagram. And that's how we connected. And I
yeah,
connected with Chris through Equinox. He did a Equinox workshop. And I was lucky enough to be able to go to that. And I really was like impressed by that workshop. I was like, wow, Chris knows his stuff. So
yeah,
I called him and I set up a personal session with him. I met him in New York City and did a great session. I remember going back from the train home from that session and I was trying to write down everything that he
everything.
said, everything
Yeah,
I could remember. And that's what I do after our virtual classes with Chris that he does. And
yes,
so I'm very thankful to have been introduced to Chris, thankful for his knowledge that he's been able to share with me and just kind of giving it a new look, Pilates. It seems like
hmm
a lot of a lot of times Pilates can be like my initial before I knew what Pilates was, I'll tell you I was kind of like Pilates, like I was very skeptical of the method before I knew what it was and I was just like, it seems like something that like housewives with too much money, especially in Long Island, are doing. And I'm just like,
yes,
I don't need to do that. But then I
yes.
realized I was like, wow, I was wrong. I'm completely changed. I'm like, and I tell people
Yeah.
that story all the time. I'm like, my skepticism has done a complete 180, and now I'm very passionate about sharing Pilates and keeping the method alive, and giving
Yes,
it the credit it
absolutely.
deserves and trying to change the stigma that it has. So that's my
Yes.
that's been my journey so far, and it's just an exciting journey. Everywhere I go, I try to book a Pilates session somewhere. In Boulder,
Yes.
I have my Boulder hat on.
There you go.
Boulder Pilates.
Represent.
My sister lives in Colorado, so
Hmm.
it's just fun. It's fun. You meet so many nice people, and it's just a great community to be a part of.
It
So
really is. It really is. Like I saw Cecile was saying that too. Like getting guys into Pilates, it's like pointing them to Chris Robinson or pointing them to myself or to you, right? Like there's something to be said for, and not to take away from dancers, but like just guys that aren't like don't have a dance pedigree going into Pilates as well. So besides like the rich housewife, the second part of it was that you're a dancer that could just you're uber flexible and all these different things. Like I didn't identify with that either.
yeah, yeah, I am not a flexible guy really in terms of like my movements. I was stiff. I was very stiff. So I hear you on that. It's not relatable to see some like super flexible dancer doing these moves. I'm like I will never be able to do
Not
that.
gonna get there. Right. Yeah,
But
exactly.
as I learned about Joseph Pilates, first I found out that it was a person. That was like a shock to me. I'm like,
That's
oh,
one.
it's not. I'm like, so people still ask me, what is a Pilates? And
Yes.
I'm like, well, it's a guy's last name, and he called it contrology, and there's this whole history behind it of how it came about, and it's just learning about him and his method. He was a boxer, he's a
Right.
boxer, and it's like, when you hear that, you're like, all right, he's a tough guy that
Mm.
taught this. It's like it changes the
Yes.
whole
The
perspective
paradigm. Yeah,
of the
for
whole
sure.
of the whole game here. So it's
Yeah.
cool. It's just fun. It's fun. I'm happy. I'm just, it's really, I remember I had an opportunity for my degree to get a entry level job out of college. It was in Princeton, New Jersey. And it was a difficult decision, but I knew when I went to visit the place that it wasn't for me. And so
Okay.
then I knew I needed to find something else. And so I
Yes.
decided to become engrossed in my local community while I was still at the Equinox Cafe job. And I was like, okay, so maybe I can do Pilates in the morning and photos in the evening.
Mm.
And I still go do photo gigs, but I'll tell you, my main grind has become the Pilates. I had an opportunity for my degree to get a entry level job out of college. It was in Princeton, New Jersey. And it was a difficult decision, but I knew when I went to visit the place that it wasn't for me. And so
Okay.
then I knew I needed to find something else. And so I
Yes.
decided to become engrossed in my local community while I was still at the Equinox Cafe job. And I was like, okay, so maybe I can do Pilates in the morning and photos in the evening. And I still do photo gigs, but I'll tell you, my main grind has become the Pilates. It's really been
Yes.
the most fulfilling thing. And it keeps me in tune with myself and
Yes.
with what I need to do, and kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
beyond the practice itself, it kind of helps you mentally as well as physically.
Right. Yeah. And that's a double meaning whenever I say it. It helps me to stay connected.
Yes, yes, definitely. It's like, what do I want to do? The better you can visualize something, the better you're going to call that scenario to yourself, is something
Yeah.
that I believe. So I always try to set real visual goals. And I think that even though this pandemic is something I cannot wait for it to be over, I am thankful that during this pandemic, I've been able to grow as a virtual instructor. And, this is something that will allow me to take on group fitness, is something that I've been kind of dabbling with. I've never done a group fitness class, so
Okay.
I've only been taking private clients for now 3 years. And I just want to make sure, my main gripe with group fitness is not a gripe, but it's just that you can't get that personal attention, you know?
Right.
But
Yeah.
now it's kind of like, okay, that someone doesn't have the personal attention and you just want to get that hour in. And of course, to scale up your business, it's something that is definitely
Yeah.
there.
Well, yeah. Well, let's talk technically about that for a second. Like, I love group dynamics, and as much as we lose, that personal touch, there is a way to have enough of a connection that people can see and feel the difference and get results without them getting hurt, and them feeling like the only way is a private session.
Right.
So, and even as we talk about that, those of you who are watching us, guys, like if you have any comments on what your best tactics are for making group sessions um, effective and practical and valuable, what are your best tactics to make your group sessions amazing? Please put it in the comment section. Kevin,
Yeah.
I see you
Great.
there. And
Hello.
yeah, he's a perfect example of someone who could run an amazing group class like a conductor and just make it amazing, like it's each person's individual experience in a large group setting. So any comments you guys have, please put it in there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'm looking forward to this because that's a good insight, something that I have set as a goal for myself to become better in group fitness scenarios. So that's my next step, even though it's a
yeah,
big.
absolutely. No, it's great. I love like being on the growing edge of things. And I'll just give you an example while people are responding. I was launching a new class at a community center, and I'm really big on municipal fitness and just making this Pilates accessible to all. Like I've worked in Lifetime and the high-end gyms, but
Mhm.
then also like the community center feel is also really, really important. So I launched a class. It said like September 29th, we're going to start this Pilates class. And I took this group of people on a journey to learn the classical method. And week over week, we just built up and just took our time with it. And the way I did it was there was an ebb and flow between the weeks where one week I would say like, okay, today we're going to focus on breathing, or today we're going to work on that connection, or today we're going to work on some kind of theme. And there'd be days where I would just flow through the exercises at like game speed, and then they'd just be huffing and just basically make sure no one gets hurt. And then there's other weeks where I'd refine a movement and we'd spend like 40 minutes on like the roll up. You know what I mean? So I'd ebb and flow between it being like laser point focus on one particular movement, and then other weeks where I put things together where they could understand transitions between exercise as well as the exercise itself.
Right, right. I think that's great, and this is something that I do with my personal clients as well. Like I'll
Yes.
I'll
Yes.
stop a session and I'll be like, okay, I see the way. Like just earlier, I have a woman who is rolling like a ball. I'm telling her, I see her legs go. She extends her legs when she goes back. She can't keep those legs, and I'm like, why
Okay.
don't you try holding some pencils behind your knees and break those pencils to come forwards? And it was like magic to see her roll
Yes.
up like that. And I was just like, there you go. Did you feel that? And I'll never get tired of seeing the look of just
The
like, how did I
aha.
do
Yeah.
that? Like, what did I just do? Like, like what was
Mhm.
different? It was
Yes.
different. I know it was different, but what did I do differently that was like kind of, and it's like, I often tell them, I'm like, there are muscles that are overworking that you didn't use that time. And that's why it felt weird to you. And
Yes.
so I'm trying to keep people aware of not only what is working new work, but also what is less work, like in your shoulders. A lot of people, you see them, they're crunched up their shoulders by their
Yeah,
ears, right?
right.
Or,
Yeah, yeah.
their hip flexors are super tight. So when they do their roll up, their legs pop up. So it's kind of, it's, yeah. And I see that as a great stepping into the group fitness realm. I guess
Mm,
I just need to jump in and become more comfortable. And I see
jump
these
in,
comments.
man.
Thank you for these comments.
Yeah. So Caroline is saying, just be motivating. Use each of your clients. It's a little bit of a glare there. So
Oh, sorry.
there on the group as an example. Yes, exactly. The other one too. You can still be personal, meaning use someone to show the improvements that are happening. Yes, right. So yeah,
Right.
and leverage the group, right? Like that's ultimately what it comes down to. There's always going to be some rock star, some ambassador that's bringing people in and keep working with them and keep growing with the class. Like it's so funny because I present it like we are going on a journey for the 2 years that I ran that class. It was almost exactly the same people every single week because everyone knew that they didn't want to miss what they're going to learn next. So it wasn't just a workout, it was a continual education for the people in the room so they knew where they needed to be in space and not just waiting for my cues.
Yeah, that's so funny that you said it's a journey because I was just the last few minutes before getting on with you. I was just wrote this little note that right at the top. I don't know if you could see it. Pilates journey.
Yeah,
That's my
yes.
Pilates journey, and that's like how I felt like I wanted to introduce myself here. And so
Mhm.
it is a journey, even for me, even for everyone at all levels. The journey has to start and continue. And I tell this to people all the time, perfection, it's not sustainable. Even if you do get to perfect, you're not going to be perfect the next day because maybe you slept in a strange position or, you had to drive an extra hour somewhere and that like made your
Yes.
hip a little weird. Adjust keep us from
Right.
that perfect alignment, right? And that's the goal is just to get better. That's what I tell people. Just get a little better
Absolutely.
every time. Feel a little bit new, feel a little bit more work. And as a former long distance runner, I often use this example. If you run a mile and then you run the same mile faster, the mile did not change. But you did it better. You worked harder. You completed it more efficiently. And that's the definite like I can take that with me to Pilates. And I
Yes,
think I'm
yes.
drawn to things like that where there's just no perfect. There's no perfect. It's definitely like baseball, right? If you're batting 300, you're a Hall of Famer. But the seven
Right.
times out of 10, you're
Yeah.
striking out or you're popping out, you're
Yeah.
not getting on base. But that's still there's no perfect baseball. There's no perfect running. You can't run a mile faster than there is a limit,
Mhm.
and then people are pushing that threshold. So it's
Yes.
definitely it's fun.
It is fun. And keeping with the sport analogy too, like you see it, like I mean, if I win a championship, well, I have to win two championships. Well, then I have to win a second championship and be an MVP. And then I have to be a repeat MVP. And then I have to get to the Hall of Fame. Like you're never
Right.
done, right? Like until you're
Yep.
done,
Yep.
you're done.
The march of time will eventually get you.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
all we're doing, I tell people too, we're fighting gravity. We're fighting gravity. After I do Pilates, I'm standing up taller, and that's another thing. People, I hadn't been to a doctor for a physical in about 3 or 4 years since before starting my Pilates, and so I did do that. And he's
Yes.
looking at my sheet. He's like, "Huh? What?" He's like,
Yeah.
"You grew an inch and a half," and this
What?
is from age 26 to 30. So
Yes.
I'm like, and now I'm 32, and he's like, "There's no way you actually grew." But I told him, I said, "I've just been doing a lot of Pilates, so I think I'm standing, I'm holding myself taller, and that's just
Yes.
a nice win in itself." And I get that feedback from clients all the time. People say I look taller. I'm like, "You are taller."
You
So
are taller. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. If you want to
yeah.
get technical, you're like millimeters taller by virtue of every space between every vertebrae. But yeah, yeah, you're taller. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but even that, like just daily in and out of gaining, you're just gaining a little
Yes.
bit every time. That's the feeling that I like and I'm drawn to. And it's just there's no such thing as like you're never just going to be like, okay, I beat that game, on to the next game.
Yeah.
It's like,
Next. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Kevin's comment here. Your smile and exciting personality is affirming in and of itself. Everybody feels like they win.
yeah.
That is true.
I have been seeing Kevin's posts too. He's got
What?
some good posts. Yeah.
Yeah. He's for real, man. He's good. Watch
Yeah.
his core conversation if you haven't got a chance to watch that one. Like,
I
go,
definitely need to.
yeah, dig to the archives. He's a good time, man.
I will. I
Um,
will.
so here's my question for you. Now, we've been talking just at a great enthusiastic level about Pilates. What would you say is your elevator pitch for Pilates? You walk in and someone's like, "What's this Pilates thing? What is it?"
What's Pilates? Pilates, I guess if it depends on if I guess I'm trying to sell them on a session, I would say it's a total body workout. You're gonna feel new muscles and you're gonna help your posture. I'm big about posture and how you do things
Yes.
because if I feel like if I was running in a better posture, I would have been more sustainable. But then of course I never would have gotten introduced to Pilates. So,
Right.
but I think if you have any aches and pains, your
Mhm.
posture can probably fix about 75% of those pains,
Yes.
if not
Yeah.
100%. So
So
yeah,
that's your pain point that you speak to is
yeah.
posture.
Are you in pain? Yeah, like, do you want to be taller? These
Yes.
are like quick little things that I've seen people go like, oh, that like interests me, you know?
Yes.
So,
Right.
and people I've had, doesn't matter the age, I've had 16-year-olds, I've had 86-year-olds, and they're in the session, oh my God, it's so uncomfortable, it hurts. And I'm just like, okay, just trust me here, like we're gonna just breathe through this, And then like they breathe
Yeah.
in position and it starts slowly. I can see that they're relaxing into it. And they stand up after the session and they're like, I feel great. I
Yeah.
feel great. You know,
Yeah.
they're like surprised that they feel great.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah. But dude, I've had those moments too. Like when you're in the middle of it, you're like, maybe I should pull back and like, nah, let's just keep going with this. And then they feel better afterwards. But like there's a
yeah,
moment too in there where you're like, okay, am I hurting them or are they good?
yeah.
Right.
You kind of have to give them a little tough love.
Yeah.
It is true. It's fun. It's fun, and it's also it's challenging. It's challenging because you don't want them to feel like you're against them. I have to remind myself. I'm like, okay, this is normal. Like we're
Yes.
doing a normal
Right.
thing. This happens to everyone, and we
Mhm.
can overcome this. And then on days when I'm just like, oh, you know what? I really don't feel good today,
Yeah.
but I'll just push through and do my own practice here. And then midway through the practice, I'm like, I feel good. Like
Yeah.
now I feel like I push it, like I push
Yes.
past that little fog, right? That
Yes.
like
Yeah.
kind of keeps
Yeah.
you from going that extra step. And so I think
Right.
Pilates is a great way to do that.
It is. It is. I've learned over the years at the same time, like we're talking athlete talk now. Like you realize this, right? Like that push
Mhm.
through thing. Not everyone has that same reference of having to push it on the field that they could bring to the Pilates studio.
Right, right. And I'm thankful for my high school cross country coach, Dennis Walker. He was an Olympic alternate in the 70s, and he was a track runner, but
Wow.
he pushed me hard. And it was good because I learned mental toughness from that. I would wake up before school in high
Yeah.
school and I would run 8 miles before school, go home, shower, come back, go to school, and then do practice with the rest of the team, and then come home again and
Wow.
shower again. And so that kind of training really instilled the like just the dedication to the process, because you
Yes.
see like, and I'm seeing my mile time go from 7:30 to 6:30 to 5:30 to
Yeah.
4:45, and
Wow.
then it
Yeah.
starts to, so I was really like, when you see results like that, you just know that it works. And you know that if you just kind of grit your teeth and push through, it's going to be worth it. And then that's where the old
Yes.
cliche, no pain, no gain comes from, right? So we're just
Mhm.
trying to feel the good pain from the bad pain. And I tell people a lot, there's weird feelings in you. If you feel something and it's just weird, if it just feels weird, that's probably good. I say
Yeah.
Pilates, weird is good. If
Yes.
it's ouch, if you're like recoiling in pain, then your movement will dictate before you can even think about what's happening.
Yes. Yeah. True. Yeah, and like I said, like there's a dedication to the process in all that you said there that is, I admire. Like good on you for chasing after it and just getting better every day with your work.
Yeah, and I mean, from all of these injuries, I used to, when I was 16 years old, I would go to the acupuncturist because I knew my back was tight. I was like, I was moving so horribly, but I was still running, running, running. And so she would put the needles in my back and blood would spurt out of it. Like, it was so tight.
Yeah,
It was just
yeah,
unbearable. It eventually forced me to stop competing. And so, then because through Pilates, I've had like a hip lockup from my baseball swing for my whole life, you know? And so now finally I'm like feeling that I'm like, wait a minute, I'm accessing like these muscles that I felt that were locked up, like a brick in your hip, right? It's like you
yeah.
want to move there, but then that guy just turns on and tries to do the whole movement for you, and you're like, no, like no, like relax. It's like a sponge that doesn't get any water, you know?
Yes,
And so you want to just like get that area I call it like put the blood flow to that area. And I'm big
yes,
on the message, this mental message to your spot. Map to the
yes.
spot is kind of what I think. And it's like
Mhm.
that's what I'm training people is just to find the map in their head to the spot in their body that is going to be
Yes.
newly accessed, and then they can just use it, you know, and then
Yeah,
that's the feeling
absolutely.
of fulfillment is when I see,
Right.
and it's funny. I get some phases. I wish I had them on video. I could make a series of all the what did I just do? Or like the first
Yeah.
time I remember for me, the first time I did it, it was the teaser on the box on the reformer with
Yes.
Jessica Markinson. The first time she showed me the teaser, I was like, I could do that. Oh, I could not do that. Found out
Yeah.
right away I could not do
Right.
that. And
Yeah.
but like, you know, a few weeks later, I was doing a couple times a week with her, and then I did it, and I came up, and I was like, whoa, that didn't even feel hard. Like, what did I just do?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was the moment of like, I'm addicted to this. Like,
Yes.
I'm addicted to this. I see my buddy Pete has joined. What's up, Pete?
Yes.
I miss Pete. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, exactly. Those are such good moments when people just get connected to their bodies, right? They understand what's happening and like you said earlier, it's not necessarily about like now they've found the right muscles to engage to make it happen. Sometimes it's like to let the certain muscles go. And I say it to my clients all the time, it's about muscle recruitment.
Recruitment.
You
Yeah,
are, like you're strong enough already, but now in this movement, you need to figure out what muscles you need to recruit to make this movement happen.
I like that. I like that. You're adding to the team, you know, the team of the movement. That's
Yes,
good.
exactly. But you need
Yeah.
to cut some people too, though.
Exactly. That's bench that guy because he's
Bench
trying to
that
do all
guy.
the work. He doesn't want to pass the ball, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So I tell that's one of the hardest things I try to teach people is to
Yes.
relax muscles, right? I have these massage balls that I actually found from a woman in San Diego. I just was there with I'm in a band. I'm a bass guitarist, and
Okay.
so
Oh,
we were
by the
playing
way.
out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of other stuff. That's my other side project. But we were out there playing a show, and this I was just like I woke up earlier than everyone just because I'm used to it, and I was just walking around Ocean Beach, San Diego, and I found this studio, Jennifer Opaka's studio, and she has these massage balls that are great, and I've just been using them, and they've really taught me how to how much I wasn't relaxing. So whatever
Yes.
tool it is that you need to feel that you're relaxing, the foam roller is good, and I'm
Yes.
super into like trying to feel the muscle relax, and there's all the fascia. I know I'm not like the
Yeah.
most educated on this, but there's the fascia that is like around the muscle, and they're still
Yes.
finding out so much about this. And
Right. Right.
it's like you can stretch your muscle, but you can't stretch your fascia. You can only
Mhm.
relax your fascia, and that
Yeah.
comes
Yeah.
from up here. So
Right.
thought
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
it's been helpful.
I've even with that too. Like, are you familiar with like Hypervolts and like Theraguns and the percussion therapy stuff?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so I took a course on that with the Hypervolt, and I integrate that into my Pilates as well. For times I just need an active release on a muscle or just a quick pass to engage a certain muscle that's not firing and stuff. And I think I'm going to start to roll out some courses for that. Like my wife was saying that, like, just the time to use that to help release her shoulder prior to doing like even like a chest expansion.
Absolutely.
Um, that sort of thing. Like it's those missing links for a lot of our athletes that it helps them just to get that connection from the outside in while we're trying to get them to move from the inside out with Pilates.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing to feel is when a muscle that is muscle memoried into the on position,
Yes.
to feel that it's off and a new muscle has come on. I kind of tell people, I'm like, you might be getting a little warmer in another spot. Or maybe I
Yes.
sometimes use the analogy of like a light. Maybe there's like a flickering light in there and you want to just feel that light getting brighter and brighter, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's helpful to visualize the actual thing, even if you're visual. Some people, I tell them, that one of my clients, it's like, oh, whenever I need to relax a muscle, I think of sipping a margarita on a beach, and that helps her to
Yes.
relax that muscle. I'm just like,
Take it.
okay. Some
Yeah.
people are like, kill it, and so whatever
Yeah. Yeah.
works, whatever's your mental device to get out of the overused muscles into the underused muscles. That's what we're trying to teach here, and I think that that's
Yes.
like a super important overlooked part in the system. And I
Absolutely.
agree that the group classes would be a good thing, like a group release class, right? Like just
Yeah.
kind of half an hour, and I do that too before my softball games. I'm on a foam roller. I'm on these
Hmm.
balls that I got from Jennifer. I got the fascia blaster. Those little the rollout. Um,
Yes.
I have it right
Little
here.
knobby things.
Yeah, this and it
Yeah.
turns. Yeah, so it's all great stuff.
Right. Yeah. Those are all the tools, man. You come with like a suitcase to your baseball games or what?
Oh no, no. I have it in my car,
Yeah.
just in the car, and I'll bust it out in the parking lot. I'll do some ice stretches. I see people, they come. It never fails, man. We get a new guy every year, and oh, I'm good. I'm good. I haven't played in 2 years. First time he hits the ball, pulls a quad or a hammy on the way to first base, and then
Yeah.
it's like,
Exactly.
all right, man, you're the catcher for the rest of the year.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Out 6 to 8 weeks with Achilles tear on the first swing.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Uh,
hopefully not that bad. We've had guys come back from that, but I've had people, they're just like, I've had some friends, they're like, I'm gonna have back surgery, They go to the doctor,
mhm.
they're saying, "Oh, I need back surgery." I'm like, "Okay, let me try something with you first." And after 6 Pilates sessions, they're
Yeah.
like, "Well, I feel better," and they never come back. It's like
Yeah.
it's okay though because at least they didn't get back surgery. That's
Right.
my
Yeah.
like it's like I don't I'm skeptical of that whole area with just the willingness to cut someone open before trying everything else.
But I mean, that speaks to even as like Black Cat Pilates Hamburger there. She was saying earlier, more men need to know that Pilates is out there, right? And in general, more people need to know that Pilates is out there. And so when people say I need to get hip surgery or I need to get back surgery, I need to get this done, it's because they haven't really explored every move and discipline that might lend to, their issue.
I absolutely agree with that. There's not enough awareness of and that's, I think partially because of the unintentional branding that Pilates has received, just by the imagery that's shared and all of this. It's kind of it's just not appealing to men. One of the things I was like, we need to rebrand the system. We need to make it, and I see a lot of attempts at rebranding the system as well. Like, what is it, solid core and stuff like that, and
Right.
SLT, and so there's, stuff that lends itself from Pilates. But in my
Yes.
personal, I'm classically trained, and I think the
Hmm.
classical community is kind of, we don't want to change the method. The method is there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
It's
Right.
been working for a long time. So
Right.
that's why I try to stay true to the method and just kind of keep learning the method for myself. And I love this quote. I don't remember who posted it, but it was don't, or maybe it's a Joe quote or a Jay quote, but it's don't don't change the movements. Let the movements change you.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly it. Um, yeah. Thanks, Caroline. She's headed off to work. So
Yeah.
she, if you get a
Yep.
chance, yeah, please follow her. She's fantastic. She's in Germany.
I'm
Yeah. She's
definitely
but
everyone in this list is getting followed. So I'm big on like
yeah.
learning from people. Yeah, and my buddy Cole is here.
Yes.
What's up, Coley? Yeah, glad you're joining in. Thanks
Hmm.
for joining
Yeah.
in,
And
Cole.
but
He's in California now.
yeah,
So
very cool. Yeah. So in terms of rebranding it, maybe not say rebranding it, but trying to make it, as a friend of mine said, like we're making Pilates look cooler, so to speak.
People will walk by the studio, and I tell my clients, I'm like, if those people walking by, they don't know what you're doing in there. It's like they just see a small, tiny
Right.
movement, but they don't know how hard that is. And so that's the
Right.
challenge, I think, for Pilates is to get people over what they see and try to get
Yes.
people to feel it. And there's no way to feel it unless you do it, of course. So it's just
Right.
kind of
Right.
a
Right.
more inviting approach, I guess, to show. And that's like goes back to the elevator pitch. Do you want to be taller? Are you in pain? Do you want to be not in pain? Who wants to live
Yeah.
in pain? Not me,
Yeah.
you know?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. The people will walk by the studio, and I tell my clients, I'm like, if those people walking by, they don't know what you're doing in there. It's like they just see a small, tiny
Right.
movement, but they don't know how hard that is. And so that's the
Right.
challenge, I think, for Pilates is to get people over what they see and try to get
Yes.
people to feel it. And there's no way to feel it unless you do it, of course. So it's just
Right.
kind of
Right.
a
Right.
more inviting approach, I guess, to show. And that's like goes back to the elevator pitch. Do you want to be taller? Are you in pain? Do you want to be not in pain? Who wants to live
Yeah.
in pain? Not
Yeah.
me, you know?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that reminds me, one of the opening lines. I've had to work with some basketball teams in the past, pre-COVID, and I started to craft my opening lines because, like, you walk in as a Pilates guy, and everyone's gonna be like this, right? They don't want to have anything to do with it. And so I had a G League team, the Raptors 905 team that I was doing a thing for, and I opened with this. I said to him, like, Pilates is great for your posture and for your strength and being injury free. And it's the difference between signing a 1 year contract and signing a 5 year contract when you're
Yeah.
35 years old playing basketball.
That's a really good way of putting it. It's like you're going to be moving better for longer. It's all about sustainable movement. And that's what I tell people too. I have guys that are training with me, and I'm like, listen, our ship has sailed. We're not professional athletes. It's like, but we still have to wake up and do our daily things. And those daily things I used to be whatever it was, vacuuming. Sometimes even a sneeze I've heard throw your back
Right?
out. But
Yeah.
it's like we're
Right.
not training for the big game anymore. I'm just
Nope.
training for the things I need to do in my life from day to day
Yes.
basis. It's like, oh, I'm going
Right.
to move. I'm moving. I'm switching places. I need to move my big bed somewhere. You want to
Right.
be able to do that, not without fear of injury. So I think that
Yes.
that's um, such a big asset to not have to worry about your
Right.
injury and your movement. And the old quote, again, going back to Joe, you're only as old as your spine is flexible, or you're only
Right.
as young as your spine is flexible.
Right.
That's great.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and Peter Twist, one of the guys that I follow and has been a mentor to me for a while, he always talks about the podium performance, right? So your podium performance, like you're running, Olympics, you're 1 mile, like but you still need that podium performance, whether it's getting groceries or playing with someone's kid, or like, for those grandparents out there who have to still run around and chase their grandkid. They want to sit on the couch and yell at them. They want to be out on the field with them. That's your podium performance now. So how can we train you for that moment? How can we get you good for that moment?
Right, right. You want to be, and even especially people with children, it's like you got to keep up with that kid.
Yeah.
It's like
Yep.
maybe one day he'll be the professional athlete. So you
Hmm.
don't know. You don't know that. And so it's such a good just, and I notice on days that I don't complete my practice. I'm just like, oh, I'm a little lazy today. And then like I'm stiff, I start to get those familiar aches in
Yeah.
those familiar places. And I'm like, oh my God. But then when I've done Pilates and now I'm teaching it, I said hours a day. So I'm showing the movements. A lot of times I have clients who can just
Yeah.
keep up with me now. And I'm like, all right, let's go, And so then those are the
Yes.
days I feel the best, I'm taking the knees brace off.
Yes.
Definitely about the
Right.
vocabulary
Exactly.
with men, I see. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
It's
good thing you have like a master's in communications there too, eh? That probably comes in handy a little bit.
I have thought of that. Yeah, I'm like, you know what? It definitely, even though I'm not like in the field, I didn't go straight into television or whatever it was. The Instagram Live like didn't exist when I was in college, So we're
Yes.
all. It's just I was equipped with the tools to kind of be like, all right, mass media you know, this is something
Yeah.
that I want to dabble in, but at the same time, I'm afraid because I don't want to put myself out there that much. So
Mhm.
it's that give and take. It's like, how much do I do without being like, I guess the worst is just like seeking attention, you know, like attention for their own self-worth. It's like, I don't
Yeah.
need that. I don't want to appear like I need that, but
Yes.
I do need to put myself out there more, you
Yes.
know? So
Yeah.
that's I struggle with those two things because I see a lot of people who are, you know, I think that, and I don't, you know, I assume, but I just see like these posts and I'm just like, wow, I hope they're living that life that well
Right.
because,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
I
Yes.
don't wish bad for anyone, but I just think that,
But
you know,
yeah.
I'm a little more personal, I guess, and I just want to, but I do want to put the message of Pilates out there, which is why this is such a great thing
Yes.
that you're doing. It's helped me
Thank
open
you.
up a little bit, you know?
Yeah, no, it's good. And I love, the conversation about like not what do you want to do when you grow up, but who do you want to become? So, even looking at you with your communications degree and you're saying how that's helping people even just like online for training, like I hear it in your cues, like you have such great command of your verbal cues. Like there's an economy of words in the way that you bring things across where it just makes sense to people. And it's like, well, that degree sets you up for this moment.
Yeah, yeah. It really is so funny how life will just guide you on your path that you need, you know? And it's
Yes.
just like, because I was in photography, like I was a photographer. I started in 2006 Fashion Week. I started
Okay.
doing in New York City. I was doing crazy events, and it
Wow.
was a fun lifestyle. And got to be in all of these cool parties. And then you know, it burns you out. That lifestyle burns you out, man, really quick. I probably 2006 to 2011. I was working really hard in that industry, and then I had to move back to Long Island. I was like,
Wow.
you know, I can't sustain this. And then, you know, you're up all night. Then you got to wake up and go. It's like I was sleeping at the office sometimes because you got to get those photos out. So it's a grind.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so and then going to college, finishing that, it kind of made me realize I was like, man, I just did all of that, and now I feel like it's not a waste. You know, I
Right.
can have I have the ability to just kind of like think and say it. I think that's kind of
Yes.
important when you're reacting to a client's movements. You're saying, okay, my cue isn't working. But what I can see where I want them to go. And
Hmm.
then you just have to build that bridge of words across
Yes.
and get them to cross that bridge with you, you know?
Yes, exactly.
And there's
Kevin
design.
said,
Yeah.
yeah, they said like the Pilates is life. But like, what's interesting too about what you're saying, Michael? I love like all that you're saying because a lot of times there's so many people who have so much education. They have a master's in physiology and they've studied for 20 years and they did all these different things, and they're not the best communicator. So the riches of what they know doesn't actually get across as much
Yeah.
as you who worked in a cafe found Pilates and just doing it. Like I think that you can learn the back end and get more knowledge and continue your Pilates journey and get to the same place as that person who has a different pedigree getting to this place.
Right, right. I totally agree. There are people out there that I know and respect, and I see them work, and I'm just like, their knowledge is untapped because I can't get to it. I can't get to it, and there's so many people, and I'm constantly trying to expand my knowledge because I want to know more about anatomy. This is not something that I have a strong background in, so I've got the Anatomy Trains book. I'm looking at all of these things. I do want to turn on those other little muscles and then just to develop the awareness of what's happening is because
Yes.
some people, this is my least favorite response from a client when I ask them, because I'm trying to get in their head. I'm trying to know what
Yes.
they're feeling. And so they say, I'm like, what did you feel there? This, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? You know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Right.
that's where I really
Yeah,
will
exactly.
press
They
someone.
they need to.
I'll be like, yeah, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but you know, I'll be like, no, 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 no. That's a
No, no, no.
cop out. Point to the spot that you feel, and they'll point
Yes.
to a spot. That's kind of how
Right.
I get them to just gradually open out of this. Okay, I can't. You know, I don't know what's happening here. You know, it's like, okay, take ownership
Right.
of your body, figure out what's going on. No one's going to be able to tell you what you feel. You know, it's like I could see how
Yes.
you're moving. I can see if you're moving well, but
Right.
if you could say something, and then I'll change my approach immediately. you know?
Man,
And
it sounds like we're working with like my kids. I'd be like, use your words, like when they were younger, like
yeah, yeah,
use,
it's amazing.
yeah, yeah, because
It's amazing.
yeah.
It really is, and it's just like I think it's an ability that is developed.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Core Conversations. This organic platform has been made possible by amazing people like yourself. So if you're a Pilates instructor or a movement specialist of some kind and you want to be a guest, please message me. If you're in some other field and the messages just resonate with you, message me. I'd love to have you on. All of our messages connect, and for some reason, they all help us in this battle. We're all in this game together, so I'd love to hear from you. Let your words be life to someone else. Check out our website, personalvictory.ca. Click the Core Conversations page to see who our upcoming guests are, and I will see you next time on Core Conversations.